Good evening, race fans. Welcome to our V8 Supercar race at Road Atlanta. Tonight we will be racing a night race. Practice and qualifying should be under the daylight, but we will quickly transition into a night race. Road Atlanta is a very difficult track with the elevation changes going up and down over elevation, and it should cause a very interesting race situation here, as drivers are going to have to deal with both the elevation changes, dive bombing into some of these corners, along with dealing with some of the night elements, dealing with their lights. Here we're following along. We already have quite a few drivers on track here. Let's take a look at our point standings and where it's at the moment. Go making a few last second tweaks. Looking at our point standings, first and second are fairly close, with Nicholas Camp and Wesley Dunphy separated by less than 30 points. Third place, our last podium position, separated by less than 60 points, with Gregory Bush and Gavin Stambaugh fighting close together, and then the rest of our field a little bit separated after that, although talking to some of the drivers tonight, it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a tighter race on our hands based on the way that they're talking about their positions. We will get to see a little bit more of that play out. Jump back into our action here as we jump on board with Wesley Dunphy as he comes down into that hard braking zone coming off the hill and then swing it back over. Jeremy Kitchen following right along behind him, trying to get a few of those lines figured out, following Wesley's lead. He is first up in that points, although Nicholas Camp made a huge jump with Wesley having issues at our last race being a rain race. Wesley Dunphy is looking to advance and pull a little bit of a gap between the two of them. Wesley Dunphy completing his first lap at 1:25.240 as he comes into this S's section. This is going to be one of the most difficult sections tonight. You're bouncing between the curbs back and forth as we see Jeremy Kitchen lose it coming into that first corner. Those curbs kind of bounce you around, but you need them in order to really get traction and really spin it into the corner. We're going to see a lot of drivers have issues there as it slopes over the hill too. It's very hard to see what's coming up afterwards, and you can end up overcorrecting or over pushing yourself going through these corner sections. Wesley Dunphy is on that backstretch section, so we'll see if we go on board with him as he comes around once he comes around that last corner, we'll go along with him for one full lap. Wesley Dunphy coming around the last corner onto the main straight. You can see he's carrying quite a lot of speed. Hard on the brakes into this first right-hander, and this sets you up as you go up the hill, entering into the S's. It's going to be a left-right type of situation. Hard on the brakes through here, downshifting, trying to get the car corrected and set up so that way you can swing it back over. Now you're going to come down hard right into this lower section. It's going to compress the vehicle hard on the brakes into this left-hander. This is one of the hardest ones to get right. As you see, he gets a little bit loose coming through there. He did run a fast lap on that last one. I know this is just practice. He's trying to get it set up hard onto the brakes here. A little bit of compression hard to the right. Get the downshift right and then try to get accelerated back into here. This is another downshift section. This is what you want to prioritize in order to get as much speed as you can going down this long back stretch. This is the longest stretch on the racetrack. We're going to see a lot of passing done here based on that last corner. A little bit of a kink off to the right. You won't be able to see as we see the sun going down here. This section at night is going to be very difficult. Hard on the brakes. Try to swing it off to the left. Really get set up for this so that way you can set up onto the main straight and be able to carry out a pass if needed here. This is a track that lends itself to a lot of passing action. We should see that tonight as drivers are talking about running within a tenth of each other on practice night. Hard onto the brakes again. He will put in a 1:24.04. Drivers will be putting down some fast laps, but once we get to the night portion, the lap time should change a little bit. The track conditions will be colder, and it will be hard to get a lot of traction put down. You see Wesley Dunphy coming over this next hill out of the S's. Another hard braking zone to the right. So far, nobody putting in any lap times to really rival him. Only 4 cars out on the race. I do know that we should have another 3 cars, so we'll see where they're at. Looks like we've only gotten 3 clean laps in so far. Gavin Stambaugh crossing the line with a 1:24.234, 2/10 slower than Wesley Dunphy. This is just practice, so a lot of drivers are going to be trying to learn and figure out what they can get away with on this track as track conditions are cooling down. This track looks fairly straight. When you're looking at the track map up in that right-hand corner, it doesn't look too awful difficult. However, because of the elevation changes and where they're at on the track, it actually does set up for some difficult points. And if you get a little too aggressive, you can definitely make mistakes that'll throw you all the way back. Jeremy Kitchen advancing 1 second on his lap. He's still struggling a little bit back there. 2 seconds off of the leader's pace with a 1:26. Gregory Bush comes in his first clean lap at 1:25.7. Nicholas Camp at 1:24.598. Both of those being their first clean lap. I'm sure they have more to give than that, but that's going to be a 5/10 difference for third place and an entire second difference for Gregory Bush. He's not going to be happy with that. Luckily, this is just practice. We still do have 8.5 minutes before we go into our qualifying laps. Our qualifying laps should be on sunset. This is a very beautiful track with the way that the sun sets overhead. As you see see Wesley Dunphy running into that corner. Jump on board with Jeremy Kitchen here for a second, as he's following. Looks like maybe John Adams there. Keeping it nice and clean through that little chicane section before going on to the main front stretch. Drivers are going to be completing laps here, so we'll get a few more times on the book. Might have just been an out lap for John Adams, as we don't get a lap time for him yet. Jeremy Kitchen runs actually 4 seconds slower. That's a rough one for him. Gregory Bush, a 1:25.780 on his last lap. 3 drivers within a second, and then Wesley Dunphy separating himself from the field a second ahead of him. Jeremy Kitchen going to be coming down the front stretch to complete his lap, as we see Jonathan Casebeer. He's going to be entering that back stretch. See if he can get any separation from him to Jeremy Kitchen. Jeremiah Vincent comes in his first completed lap at 1:27.282. Not enough really there. It's only going to be his first completed lap though, so he's got plenty of time to make up for it. John Adams actually in that red machine there. He's going to be coming in with a 1:42.994. Kind of a difficult lap for him. Looks like we've got a Wesley Dunphy coming into the pits. He's heading up for the practice. On board with Jonathan Casebeer. See if he's going to complete a lap here. He will. A 125.643. This is what we were talking about with the practice laps. Drivers were saying that they were all within a second. Now, granted, a lot of these times that are within a second are during the daytime, and as soon as we get to the night portion, you're going to have to deal with the visibility issues and with a very slick track. So we will see some of the separation from the more skilled drivers who have been really dialing in the times. We see Nicholas Camp getting a little aggressive. He spins it out coming into that first part of the S's there. Gavin Stambaugh keeping it clean through this section here as he passes Jeremiah Vincent coming out of the pits. We've got 5 drivers within a second now. Wesley Dunphy losing it there. It looks like Jeremiah Vincent, kind of a big mistake from him. Not used to seeing that from him. Usually he's pretty far up there. Gavin Stambaugh is going to be trying to fight Gregory Bush for that 3rd position tonight. It's going to come down to where they finish. We do have 4 more races on the schedule, or 3 more races after tonight on the schedule, so nothing locked in yet. He still has time to make up for it. Nicholas Camp's going to have to make a big improvement, though, if he wants to catch up to Wesley Dunphy in the points. He needs to beat him by over a position in order to pass him right now, but if he can at least beat him tonight, it'll put him into a good title fight as we get closer to the end of the season. Gavin Stambaugh comes in actually a second slower. Looks like all the lap times are starting to drop off. Maybe some of the grip starting to get lost with the sun going down. Most of the drivers deciding that they've had enough and they're coming in for the day as we prepare for our qualifying laps. Qualifying is going to be important tonight. Although there is a lot of passing zones, you're going to want to set yourself up for a good run so you don't have to deal with passing too many drivers or starting in the back, especially when we've got so many drivers fairly close together in their times. Looks like times have dropped off quite a bit for most of the drivers here. Jonathan Casebeer does bring it in with a 125.068. That'll jump him all the way up to 4th place. He's been having a rough season. Looks like he's made a fairly large jump in the point standing, or in the time standings. It's going to be interesting to see how he runs with these leaders. None of them have had to run with him so far this year, so I'm sure he'll be happy about that. Greg Bush, a 125.780 on that last lap. That is an improvement, but not enough here. I know Jeremy Kitchen has a little bit more than that too, so we should see 6 drivers minimum all running within a second of each other. Although right now, that fast lap from Wesley Dunphy, a 124.045, is a really big separation point. We'll look to see if he can hold that pace for an entire hour-long race. As we have 3 minutes left in this practice session, we'll see who can finish another lap and see where they can put themselves in the points. Jeremy Kitchen comes in with a 131, as we were talking about, just getting slower and slower on this practice setup. Looks like maybe he's just trying to find a few things and play around with what he's got. Gavin Stambaugh, 126.306. He's not going to be happy about that either. Jonathan Casebeer looks like he can run a fast lap, but getting a little bit of off-track issues. I don't know if maybe that's just him searching for something and trying to see what he can get away with, or if he's just pushing it a little bit too hard. We'll see if he can hold that on. Once again, an entire hour-long race. A lot can happen. Even if these cars are running tight together, if you make a mistake and you fall all the way back, it doesn't help you. Gregory Bush still not to complete a clean lap since that fast time. Jumping on board with Nicholas Camp, just flying onto that straight. John Adams really struggling back there in 8th position in the practice standings with a 131.534. Greg Busch does have a faster pace than this. We do know, we have seen multiple races from him. Our three leaders three race winners, Wesley Dunphy, Nicholas Camp, and Greg Busch, separated in the top 5. Jonathan Casebeer, Gavin Stambaugh, both looking for their first win. As we're in our last minute of racing, or practice. We're going to see what they actually have when it comes down to qualifying. We will be able to jump between the different drivers during the qualifying session. However, they will not be qualifying together. We do have single car qualifying. We'll just be able to see multiple ones out there. As Jeremiah Vincent, a huge mistake coming down the front stretch. He's really struggling here. And see the raw speed from Nicholas Camp over that hill. That is such a difficult section to get correct. Come over that hill and then a hard compression, hard brake zone. It's very easy to lock up the front wheels and just end up going off. That is the end of our practice. It's like John Adams just getting a little aggressive on the brakes there. We'll see drivers exiting for qualifying. We'll see where they can actually set their cars up. Once the session switches over, let's see which driver will go out there and set a fast lap. Let's jump on board with Gregory Busch, as he's going to exit the pits first. Let's see what sort of time he's got set up out there. This is going to be just a warm-up lap for him. Try to heat the tires up, see what the difference is as we go to night racing. Looks like an issue with his key bindings there. He's got that fixed. Headlights are staying on now. Going to be a very difficult track. As you see, you come over some of these crests, you don't even see what's on the other side of them. With the darkness, you can't see anything until you really get the car tilted back down and ready to go into the corner. So some of these corners are set up just based on feel and remembering the track setup. Looking nice and clean through this section so far, just getting heat in the tires. Going to be pretty conservative going on to this back straight. Carry a good bit of speed coming into this kink. Nice and smooth. We'll ride along with him as he comes across the front stretch for his first lap. Going to be accelerating a little bit of lift just to set the car up, accelerate onto the front stretch, getting a little bit wide, but that's all right. Should be able to continue his speed through there. Hard on the brakes into this right-hand corner. One of the easiest corners, actually, of the whole track. The rest of the track is up and down over the elevation. It's going to be pretty difficult for these drivers. Hard on the brakes into this, swing it over, back, and too much of a correction. He's not going to be happy with that. Let's see who else we've got on the track right now. Nicholas Camp out there trying to put down a good lap. Looks like Greg just got a little overzealous on that first lap. Maybe not enough heat in the tires. Remember, with this night race, the track temp's going to be quite down a lot, and it is going to be something these drivers are going to have to contend with. Some of these drivers have spent enough time in it, and some of these drivers are going to find out that they didn't spend enough time practicing coming up to a night race like this. We should see some good competitive racing as we were seeing in practice. 5 cars within a second of each other. Wesley Dunphy doing a good job to separate himself out, though. Let's ride along with Nicholas Camp as he sets down a good flyer. Hard under the brakes, swinging it right onto this back stretch, and you can see just a bunch of speed into this section. He gets a good launch out of that corner. Good job for him. getting a little aggressive off to the left, picking up a little bit of dirt that's been brought up onto the track from other drivers. Going to be cresting the hill and immediately onto the braking and see how much you can get out of it. It's going to be easy for drivers to overcook the front tires there and end up spinning out later on in the race. Tires are going to be a thing that we're going to be worrying about tonight. Even without the tire temps, you're going to be wanting to get a lot of it out of it because of the cold temps. Wesley Dunphy comes across in first with a 1:24.830. That's what we were talking about, losing almost a second with the daytime to nighttime track temps. Nicholas Camp with a 1:25.773. Jonathan Casebeer 1:26.664. So we've got 2 seconds difference. Jeremiah Vince, I'm sure he's not going to be happy with that, though we saw a lot of issues and a lot of struggling with him in the practice rounds. Get Jeremy Kitchen coming in with a 1:27.8. Not too far, 2 to 3 second difference between our top 4 drivers. Gavin Stanbaugh comes in his first lap, a 1:25.340. That jumps him all the way up to second place. These nighttime conditions, they're going to be fun to watch, being the fact that all the vision is going to come from headlights. When we watch outside the cars and they're going to be battling, you're going to get a lot of weird glares and a lot of things that you're going to have to deal with as a driver. And you can use that to your advantage as the driver behind trying to make the pass. You can use that in order to set up different setups. And we'll see a lot of that come into play with some of our more advanced drivers. John Adams does come in a 1:28.779, good enough for 6th place. A 4-second difference between him and the leader, but pretty good so far on just his first lap, as we see a couple drivers getting ready to bring into their second laps. Once again, these drivers are on single car qualifying, however, we can jump between them. John Adams doing fairly well here. A little bit of an improvement from what he was doing in practice. Wesley Dunphy comes in a little faster with a 1:24.3. So far, nothing else after that. As we're going to see Nicholas Camp complete his second lap. Excuse me. That's going to be Jeremiah Vincent. So far, a couple drivers increasing their lap times, but no real change. Jeremy Kitchen actually jumps up a position with a 1:26.042 in front of Jonathan Casebeer. Nicholas Camp will make an improvement, but not for position, as a 1:25.5. Jeremiah Vincent brings it down to a 1:29 flat. Not enough to do much with. That's going to put him in the back of the field. We have seen some good finishes with him in some of our other series, but it looks like he's been struggling a little bit with this car. Jeremy Kitchen and Jeremiah Vincent both in that same section of the track, so we're seeing the differences between how they come into that turn there. Coming across that hill, Jeremiah Vincent. Going to set up. We'll see what his next lap finish is here. See if he's made any improvement. He will, a 1:28.318, pushing John Adams to 8th place. We see Jeremy Kitchen come across with a 1:26.7, so that's not an improvement for him. Not going to be enough to help him there. Gregory Bush, a 1:27.114 on that lap, but not going to help him out. That's going to move him all the way to 6th place. Our winner from our last race, struggling with these laps, putting him all the way to 6th. This should be interesting, as we've got quite a few competitive drivers, 1 through 6. Gavin Stanbaugh with the 2nd place so far. He's looking for his first win. And Jonathan Casebeer jumping in there in 5th. He's looking for his first win. Wesley Dunphy makes another advancement, 1:24.135. He just keeps pushing the pace more and more and more each lap. He's looking to create a little more separation in the point standings from him to Nicholas Camp. We have 2 minutes left in this qualifying session as drivers are trying to put down as fast as they can to set themselves up for this race. Looks like we'll have a pretty competitive start. couple drivers deciding not to run a third lap or a fourth lap, deciding to pit. Wesley Dunphy, Gavin Stanbaugh, Nicholas Camp, all okay with where they're at in the standings. Jonathan Casebeer actually makes an advancement, a 126 flat. That'll push him all the way up to 4th place, pushing Jeremy Kitchen back a spot. You can see we've already got some dirt on that section there. That will be something these drivers will have to deal with. You can't really see the dirt when you're running in the nighttime, so just running through it, you can get loose coming over these crests. And with the curbing being something that you want to use in order to really get this car to turn and get it going fast, that's going to be something they're going to have to deal with. We see Jeremy Kitchen, he's decided he's done. He's done what he needs to do to run, so he's going to be in 5th place. Gavin Stanbaugh finishes another lap at 126, 129, not enough to advance him. John Adams sitting in the pits, he's decided he's good. Looks like most of the drivers are done with what they've done. Now the point is just getting your jitters out and doing whatever sort of pre-race ritual you've got in your head. Some of these drivers are going to use that as time to use the bathroom. Some of these drivers are going to use that just to get themselves set up and ready, make sure the seats sit right, make sure the wheels set right. Each driver is going to have a little bit of a different ritual. Looking forward to seeing Gavin Stanbaugh trying to make a pressure up to the lead with Wesley Dunphy. He didn't have a very good finish the last couple races. Some issues with some hardware there, but should be able to make a good run this run. He's looking to pass Greg Bush in the point standings. Him and Greg Bush separated by less than 60 points in the point standings for our final podium position. And with Gregory Bush qualifying with a 127, 114, a 2-second difference, it'll be interesting. We'll probably get to see these two drivers race it out on the track tonight for that position. We'll take another look at our point standings before we go green. Wesley Dunphy less than 30 points ahead of Nicholas Camp, and then Gregory Bush sitting 60 points ahead of Gavin Stanbaugh. The rest of our field a little bit behind. So our big two contests today are going to be for 1st place and 3rd place. Drivers starting to line up. We will have one full warm-up lap. We see most of the drivers out there ready to go. We do have a pretty competitive field. All the drivers lined up. We will start moving. Look at all those lights behind you. That's going to be something some of these drivers are going to have to deal with for the first time. You know, a few of these drivers have experienced night racing, but a lot of them haven't. Trying to get some heat in the tires to set it up. Going through this S's, cars are going to get a little tight. Nicholas Camp really weaving back and forth. Jeremy Kitchen having a little bit of issue with the lights there. One-hour race here tonight. Going to be plenty of time for drivers to make whatever moves they want on the racetrack and in pit lane, as we've seen races won and lost from the pit lane this year, just based on entrance and exit, and this track will be no different. We will have a few passes possible in that pit lane. See how much separation with 5 cars all running within a second and a half of each other. See if they end up running together or if that's just how fast they can physically go, and we'll see if they can hold that pace up for an entire hour. Coming on to our back stretch. This is where the nerves really set in. Drivers to the left or right of you, drivers front and back. And you know that you got to nail that start or else chaos can ensue. That first right-hand corner, if you don't get that right, can be a real pile-up. Let's hope we don't end up having to see that tonight. Nicholas Camp still trying to get some heat in the tires, spinning it back and forth. Gavin Stanball, Wesley Dunphy running side by side. That's going to be an interesting start. I don't believe those two have actually been able to run up next to each other this year because of some of the hardware problems of Gavin. And Wesley Dunphy, when Gavin has had good runs, hasn't been in the same spot. As they come around this right-hand corner, we're going to see the pace car pull off, and we'll see a good start coming down this front stretch. All the control is going to be to Wesley Dunphy and what he decides to do. They take off, and we see Wesley Dunphy with a hole shot out of there. Gavin Stanbaugh doing what he can to hold on. Looks like Nicholas Camp running up the middle. Jonathan Casebeer giving some room, letting Jeremy Kitchen get below him, deciding it's not worth trying to make a pass. This is him in his first... Oh! Nicholas Camp spinning Gavin Stanbaugh off to the right. That's going to be an issue. Nicholas Camp then getting himself spun out. We've got a lot of battling going on here. This is a wild, crazy start. I'm not sure what in the world happened there. Jonathan Casebeer kind of in a weird spot here. Following Jeremy Kitchen. Looks like Jeremy Kitchen accidentally got into Nick. I'm not sure how exactly that happened. Wesley Dunphy saying, screw all that mess. I'm going to run away now. So we'll see some weird pit strategies going on as you see Jeremy Kitchen getting offline. Jonathan Casebeer riding right behind him. Gregory Bush behind him. This is really going to shake up where they were standing. Not the start a lot of these drivers are going to want. There's going to be some hurt feelings going on after that. Not really sure what in the world got into all that. Jonathan Casebeer doing a good job of just sticking to Jeremy Kitchen's bumper through here. Our standings right now nowhere near accurate, as we know two of those drivers are spun out behind the field. Wesley Dunphy will finish his first lap at 1:31. That is just a green flag lap, so there's going to be some time difference there. Greg Bush into fourth. Jeremy Kitchen second. Looks like Nicholas Camp and Gavin Stanbaugh. Gavin Stanbaugh is probably going to be in the pits right now because of that crash. Looks like it took the whole nose off of the car. Fortunately, we won't be able to go back to that start to see what happened, but definitely going to be some upset feelings towards the back of that field now. So those drivers are going to have to look to make a hard charge to get back up to the front. Jonathan Casebeer doing a good job of staying right behind Jeremy Kitchen. Jeremy Kitchen's got to be happy. He had that third place finish last week and now sitting in second place right now. Wesley Dunphy making a 4-second run, getting away from those guys. Gregory Bush keeping second and third in his sights, not making too many crazy moves, just holding on to them. Our main battle on track right now is second, third, and fourth here. See Jonathan Casebeer a little bit over rev there before and then we see Jeremy Kitchen getting a little loose on that curbing. Coming in our first fast lap, Wesley Dunphy at 125 flat. Probably going to be enough. I believe that's faster than his qualifying time, so that's probably going to be enough for him to keep that fastest lap award for the night. That'll help for a couple points. Sure, he's happy with that. See other drivers running about a 127 for second, third, and fourth as those three drivers run within each other. It's like Gregory Bush actually had an off track, so that lap won't count for him. Jeremy Vincent, Nicholas Camp, not too far behind Jeremiah Vincent. Looks like he was able to recover off of his Gavin Stanball, though, being 45 seconds off pace. Let's jump on board with Jeremiah Vincent and see what he's got going on with pressure behind from Nicholas Camp. Nick's going to feel like he should be up there. Actually, Nick actually did make the pass on him. So Jeremiah Vincent falling back into the field. Nicholas Camp going to be making a charge back through the field. Not sure what happened with that accident, as we were saying, but he's going to have to make a hard charge to get back through the field and get back up to the leaders. We've got 4 or 5 cars within kind of a good zone right now to run each other. Wesley Dunphy still just running away, runs 0.2 slower than his fastest lap, but that's all you really need in order to stay up front. Nicholas Camp looks like tires are a little bit slick right now. That is to be expected with this cold weather. Jonathan Casebeer doing his best to run up against Jeremy Kitchen right now. That is a good move for Jonathan Casebeer. He's doing very well compared to some of his other results. Looks like he's done a lot of work to get him pushed up there. It'll be interesting. Nicholas Camp, his teammate, catches up to him. We'll see what sort of battle we end up with that. As Nicholas Camp is running back behind Greg Bush, pushing time on him, though. A nice fast lap for him on that last one, a 126.9. About a couple tenths faster than our second, third, and fourth place drivers. Jonathan Casebeer just playing it smart, staying behind Jeremy Kitchen. That's a good move for him. This is another 54 minutes left in this race. There's no need to make any brash decisions right now. Just run behind him, run your race, and make the pass when the time comes. Just wait for Jeremy to make a mistake, although Jeremy keeping it fairly clean on this track tonight. As we say that, Jonathan Casebeer gets a little aggressive, goes to the outside. We see Greg Bush follow him, and Nick Camp going all the way off over there. Looks like Nick just ended up with a little bit of tire overheat from that first lap accident that we saw. Both of the accidents. We will look back at that after the race before we interview drivers and see if we can figure out what happened there. Jonathan Casebeer doing a great job tonight. Looks like Wesley Dunphy does drop down into the 124, the 124.9. He's got to be happy with that, setting up a 10-second gap to second place. He is out there on a Sunday cruise. All that time he put in was worth it. Being able to run within a second of his practice and qualifying time when he's running out here in the dark is pretty impressive. He's got to be happy with that. Few drivers behind him running fairly fast laps, but not enough to make any moves on him. We got a decent battle shaping up for second and a decent battle for fourth here. Looks like Jonathan's not going to push it. He's probably just going to ride behind him. That's a smart way to make this move run. All drivers a little slick coming through that corner. That is the fastest way around to get that car a little spun out. We'll jump on board with Gregory Bush as he defends against Nicholas Camp. Nicholas Camp within a second is going to be poised and ready to make a pass. We'll just see when he decides to make it. Greg Bush keeping the car clean, keeping it run through here, just following the second and third place drivers. Nicholas Camp thinking that he should be up there with the leaders. He's going to be aggressive more than likely. We've seen him do it multiple times before in other races. Ooh, Jeremy Kitchen getting a little loose. The pass Jonathan Casebeer into second place, and Greg ends up getting the worst of it and running into the back of Jeremy Kitchen. We've got a shake-up. All 4 drivers now running up nose to tail. We're going to see some excitement here. Hard into this braking zone. This is where a lot of high aggression passes can be made. Probably not a smart way of doing it, but it can be done. Driver's trying to use the lights and the positioning of the car to try to force an error. Greg Busch is doing his best to run a clean lap and just keep Nick at bay. Nothing you can see in that rearview mirror because of the lighting situation. Nick getting a little underneath him, but not being able to do much with it. Going to run to the outside, try to set up an over-under through the S's. Not much he can do there, as Greg Busch is also trying to deal with Jeremy Kitchen in front of him. Jonathan Casebeer creating a little bit of separation based on the two of them, though. We've got a good battle here for our second, third, fourth place drivers. Wesley Dunphy, as we were talking about, all the way out to a 15-second lead now. The pass made. Greg Busch running to the inside of Jeremy Kitchen. Gets a little bit into it door to door. Nicholas Camp deciding he's going to run the underside. He will squeeze, and Jeremy Kitchen will get bumped all the way back to 5th place now. He's going to be happy with that as we see this pass continuing on. Nicholas Camp, Gregory Busch going to run it in. This is going to be a hard braking zone. We're going to see who gives up on it first is going to be the one who ends up losing. Gregory Busch goes ahead and lets him through, knowing that it's not a smart idea to try to deal with him there. Going to be getting a better run into the chicane, though. He's going to stay right on Nicholas Camp. We've got a full shakeup. Jonathan Casebeer, 2nd place. Jeremy Kitchen, 3rd. Going to drop all the way to 5th. Then we're going to see Nicholas Camp and Gregory Busch as Nick is going to end up running and trying to catch up to Jonathan Casebeer. We should see some good action there. Jonathan Casebeer now realizing he's going to have to run and hide and try not to deal with Nick Camp as it looks like he's on a rampage just trying to make his way through the track. We'll see what he's got. Greg Busch doing a good job of just staying behind Nick, following some of his lines, trying to make up some time. Seeing a little bit of separation, 2 to 3 cars between each one of these drivers. Decent through this section. Gonna be entering onto that backstretch. This is where if you get it right, you can start to get some closing distance on each other. Gregory Busch gets a little loose coming out of there. That's going to give Jeremy Kitchen a chance to catch up and try to get on his back bumper. Wesley Dunphy just creating more and more separation every single lap. You can see the dedication he's put into this track. He's really making something out of it as we see these 4 cars continuing to run against each other. And the rest of the field, looks like Gavin Stanball, that damage turned into 6 laps. I'm sure he's going to be frustrated with that. Barring some type of miracle, that's going to kind of put him back in 8th place for this entire race. We should be able to see what's going on later on after the race. Nicholas Camp trying to get it set up, trying to run faster than Jonathan Casebeer. Jonathan Casebeer doing a good job of running fast laps right now, but it's not. It's going to be a second slower than Nicholas Camp, so I know Nicholas Camp, here he goes for the move. Coming out of the S's, he's going to run to that outside. He is going to make the pass there on Jonathan Casebeer. He's now going to run off and try to go catch Wesley Dunphy. I don't know if he's got the pace to be able to do it, but he's definitely going to try. Wesley Dunphy has separated himself almost 20 seconds. Jonathan Casebeer now going to have to deal with Gregory Busch sitting right behind him. We have seen this run behind each other, but had Jeremy Kitchen in the mix before. Looks like Jeremy's kind of decided it isn't worth running up with there with them. Kind of let them go a little bit and just try to run it clean. Got quite a lot of time, another probably 15 to 20 minutes before our pitting cycle, and that will change up some of these positions. Jonathan Casebeer just keeping it calm and collected. Did a good job of kind of setting himself up to where if Nick had the speed, he could pass him, but he didn't have to fight him for it. These drivers starting to create a little bit of separation in that second, third, and fourth place. Probably not a bad thing for this full hour-long race to go ahead and not push each other too much. Nicholas Camp dropping another second behind Wesley Dunphy as Wesley Dunphy runs an even faster lap with a 1:24.926. He is on a tear here. Looks like that first lap crash there really took some toll on some of these drivers. Third through fifth running all within a tenth of each other on that last lap. Nicholas Camp, the only one creating any sort of separation. Not as fast as his fastest lap, but still 1:26.1. Jeremiah Vincent brings himself in of another bringing a little faster. He's been pushing himself up the charts. Started with a 1:31, now all the way down to a 1:27.5. So he is making some advancement, although it's not going to be quite enough sitting all the way back there in 6th place. Jonathan Casebeer keeping it calm and collected through this track. He's doing a very good job. First time kind of running up here with these guys. He'll be happy with a podium position. I'm sure that would help him. Nowhere close in the points finish. I believe he's actually all the way back in 13th. Missed a couple races, so being able to run this good, he's going to be happy about. I don't know that it's going to make too much crazy change in the point standings, but it will be something that he should be happy about, and it'll be interesting to interview him at the end of the race if he can hold on to this. Nicholas Camp really pushing it, trying to get up there, but he's not making too much difference on time as Jonathan Casebeer is doing a good job of staying behind him, following his lines through some of these faster sections, going through the S's. Greg Bush getting a good hard charge through that section, making up a little bit of ground on Jonathan Casebeer, and probably not going to be enough to do anything with it, but we'll see if he's got anything. Jonathan Casebeer gets a little off to the outside. You see some of the dirt kick up, then Greg Bush goes ahead and follows him through that section. Using all the edge of the track in order to make a fast lap around here is important. So you see a lot of the dirt tore up on the edge of the track. On board with Jonathan Casebeer, he's trying to defend himself from Gregory Bush, who's brought it down below a second. Hard into this braking zone. You can see the lights from Greg as Greg cuts the distance all the way through that chicane. And then onto this right-hander. We'll see if he has anything to do on that first corner. We'll stay on board with this battle here. Battle for third place here. Jonathan Casebeer going to keep it to the outside. See if Greg Bush has anything to give him. He's going to run a little bit wide, but nothing to worry about. Greg Bush, not enough to be able to make a move there. He is fast through these S's, so we'll see if he can cut the distance a little bit more. Maybe he can get the exit onto that last, or that back stretch to be able to make a move. Greg Bush just a little bit loose there. Nicholas Camp losing a little more time on his lap time. That's not going to be enough to chase down Wesley Dunphy, as Wesley Dunphy brings the lead all the way to 23 seconds. Out there on a Sunday cruise by himself, not having to worry about too much. Gavin Stambaugh does bring it down one lap. He is 5 laps behind, runs a 1:26.583. He would be in this battle with his lap times, but unfortunately we saw that big spin and that crash out of him. Must have really knocked the suspension out of it. He must be dealing with a lot. Now he's back out. Jonathan Casebeer keeping a good line through that back stretch and back onto that front stretch. Keeping Greg Busch at bay. Greg is a smart driver, so he's not going to make any aggressive moves that he doesn't have to make. Jeremy Kitchen has fallen back out of this pack and just decided to run his own race. But our big battle here for third place here, our last podium spot for today's event. Greg Busch needs the position, although right now he's going to be creating some separation of the points from him to Gavin because of Gavin's finish here. Jonathan Casebeer doing a very good job at keeping the car clean tonight. Gotta be happy with this finish. Looks like Nicholas Camp wants to create some separation, but he just can't do it. Got about another 5 to 10 minutes before we start seeing pit cycles. See if any of these drivers decide to take any chances in order to make some passes. Rest of our action on the track pretty separated out. Gavin Stanball puts in a 125.819. That would be faster than all of the field except for Wesley Dunphy right now. Unfortunately, back there on his own. Jeremy Kitchen crossing the line. We'll see what he runs. A 130. Definitely not going to be anything to help him there. He's going to be kind of falling back. 6th place, Jeremiah Vincent running 2 seconds faster. We might see a pass later on in the race. All the drivers starting to settle into a full race pace now. Nobody's setting any crazy fast laps. We'll see a couple fast laps coming out of the pit cycle, so we might see some passes then, but it looks like Jonathan Casebeer is starting to create some gap to Gregory Busch. Gregory Busch does run through the chicane a little faster, but not going to be enough to chase down Jonathan as he tries to run his own pace. Running nice, clean, fast laps. That beautiful Pizza Hut sponsor car. These cars really are just flying through some of these sections. Back onto this difficult section, we have seen Greg Busch make a little bit of a push through here, but it looks like Jonathan just going to keep it clean through it. And barring him making a mistake, Greg Busch is going to be struggling to be able to catch him as they're running close to the same laps each lap. It's not going to be enough to make a pass. Jonathan Casebeer, nice clean run through there. We went on board there with him for a second. Let's jump up to Wesley Dunphy here in the next couple laps. We'll see if he decides to make any weird pit cycles. I think at this point, he's got it all in his bag. He can decide what to do, whatever he really wants to do. Not too much excitement on track. Some pretty clean laps still. We'll try to keep our eye on that track map, see if anybody makes some crazy pit strategy here. The move for Wesley Dunphy, probably to run long if he's got the tire. He's got enough of a gap. If he runs long, he doesn't really have to worry about it, and then he can worry about getting some fast laps on the back end. We'll see if that's what he decides or if he's got a better strategy in mind. Gavin Stanbaugh, not sure if he ended up having to take tires before, so we'll see if he has to run the entire race on these tires. That might not be physically possible. Greg Bush does come in with a fast lap of 126 flat. 0.3, 0.4 faster than Jonathan Casebeer. So that is going to cut the gap there off a little bit. Was there on that backstretch. Greg keeps on showing that move out to the outside right there. I don't know if that's a setup or if that he's even thinking that far ahead with that big of a gap, but he's definitely got something there if he wants to make the move. That final podium spot being the most exciting battle that we're probably going to have for a long part of this race. Got a weird thing going on. We might have actually had Jeremy Kitchen have a big mistake. He ran a 2:26 on that lap. It dropped him back to 6th place. He let Jeremiah Vincent through. Jeremiah Vincent at 40 seconds behind our 3rd place battle. Pretty big separation in the back half of the field. Seeing some weird stuff with the pacing. I don't know if Wesley Dunphy might have made a large mistake. Is it showing him in the middle losing some time? Nicholas Camp not far behind him. We've got some shakeup going on here, folks. Wesley Dunphy had to get himself past Jeremy Kitchen. Those two are teammates, so I'm sure it had nothing to do with that. But Wesley Dunphy, his lead getting shrunk by quite a lot. Our 4th place driver, Gregory Bush, back there on his own. No, that's Wesley Dunphy, so he must have made a fairly large mistake. We've got a couple drivers possibly pitting. Quite a big shakeup. I wonder if Wesley Dunphy took a short pit. Kind of a wild strategy if that's what he decided to do. Nicholas Camp will move into 1st place. I don't know what we missed there. Although Nicholas Camp is going to go ahead and pit. Jonathan Casebeer will also pit. And then Greg Bush. The 3 of them. Wesley Dunphy will pass him back, so I believe that was a pit strategy, if nothing else. He runs... Yeah, that must have been a pit with 2:18. I don't know how that would have been a pit cycle, though. Some weird shakeups going on. We'll jump on board with the drivers here in the pits. Gregory Bush will make the pass in the pits on Jonathan Casebeer. Looks like Jonathan Casebeer just got a bad entry into the pits. Yeah, that is about the time for the pit strategy, so it looks like Wesley Dunphy forced everybody's hand with the pit cycle. And we'll see as he comes around here out on the track what actually our positions end up being. It's showing Nicholas Camp up there in 1st, but I do believe he's actually in 2nd place. We'll wait for the standings to fix themselves there. Wesley Dunphy definitely back in 1st. Sets another fast lap. Only 0.2 slower than his fastest lap of the night. A 1:24.581. Just out there putting on an absolute clinic as he creates a nice large gap from him to Nicholas Camp with that pit strategy. That is what he ended up doing. Goes ahead and forces their hand to pit. What a smart strategy from Wesley. Did not catch on to that. As Nicholas Camp is on his exit lap, he ends up being 30 seconds down from Wesley Dunphy. Smart move by him. Gregory Bush does make the pass in the pit. Jonathan Casebeer ends up falling a little bit back to 5th place. Jeremiah Vincent in fourth. There's going to be a decent battle for that fourth place position now. John Adams falling back a little bit. Wesley Dunphy just on a tear. Congratulations to him. Hopefully he can hold it up. Going to be a long run, about 30 minutes left in this race on those tires. He can do it. He is smart and handles his tires. You see how hard he's braking with a little bit of red spark in the middle of those brake system and then cooling them back off as he runs back up that hill. Jeremy Kitchen ends up making the pass on Jonathan Casebeer. So battle back there in fifth. I don't actually believe Jonathan Casebeer has re-entered the track, so he must have some damage that we didn't realize. He will come back out on the track now. That's going to be a big fall for him. Wesley Dunphy out there on his own, just running clean laps. Don't believe we have any more battles on the track at the moment. It looks like it's kind of settled down. We'll wait for anybody to make any mistakes or any control issues. Right now, we just keep on watching Wesley Dunphy as he puts in a perfect clinic on this track. Beautiful run into that corner on the brakes. Just keeping the rear end twitched out just a tiny bit to keep it cycling through the corner. Nobody even really having a chance here with Wesley Dunphy. Nicholas Camp. Jeremiah Vincent, happy to be in fifth. He has been making slow improvement throughout the race. A slow pit cycle lap. Gregory Bush puts in his fastest lap at 1:25.667. Not enough to do much with, but it will push him a little bit closer to Nicholas Camp. He will have a chance to go make a battle with him if he can keep running those type of laps. Nicholas Camp actually running slower than he was before the pit cycle. I'm not really sure if he just overdid the tires on exit or if he just hasn't gotten them up to temp yet. Jeremiah Vincent, looks like Gavin Stanball running right behind him. Don't believe he's pitted yet, so maybe he might be dealing with a tire issue there, and later on we'll see some fall off. Still running decent times to the 1:26.311. This pass on the track won't be for any sort of position. Jonathan Casebeer must have dealt with some damage in the pits. Not sure what happened there, but falling 2 laps behind, only 1 lap ahead of Gavin Stanbaugh. Wesley Dunphy coming through another lap, 1:24.757, a little slower than his fastest lap, but that's a beautiful cycle, putting him 2 seconds a lap faster, or at least a second and a half faster than Nicholas Camp, so nothing really to worry about at this point. He could probably cut the pace off a little bit and still keep himself out in the lead by quite a lot, a 32-second gap. He's not the type of person to really push it at this point. He's a smart driver, so I doubt he's going to try to do anything. But he does have the possibility of running through the back of the field and making some lap passes here. Pretty big feat at a place like this with a 1:32 lap delta. The 5th place battle going on, Jeremiah Vincent and John Adams. No, excuse me, Gavin Stanball. Gavin Stanball on a tear, trying to push himself back up through the field. This battle will not be for position, but I'm sure Gavin Stanball is going to want to move himself through that gap to try to make up whatever sort of time he has the ability to make up. Showing only 4 laps down from the leader now. Nicholas Camp, 1:25.667. That'll be his fastest lap of the race so far. Actually, what a beautiful, interesting situation there. Gregory Bush and Nicholas Camp having the same fastest lap of the race. That is an impressive feat to have there. Looks like Gavin Stanball, hopefully not getting too impatient, just following this driver. He knows he doesn't want to wreck him, doesn't need to make any crazy moves, but I know he wants to get past him. through the chicane, losing a little bit of speed to Jeremiah Vincent. Jeremiah's got a little bit of a better style through there that allows him to get some acceleration through it. Wesley Dunphy, another nice fast lap at 1:25.4. Jeremiah Vincent runs his fastest lap of the race, getting pressured by Gavin Stanball, runs a 1:27.495. Good job on the advancement from him in his practice and qualifying laps, really struggling and now out here really pushing the pace. We ride on board with him as he's just full on getting pressure on his back bumper, running a little bit wide to try to set up through these S's. Gavin Stanball has a tighter line, but not going to be enough to really pressure. He falls back just a tiny bit off of Jeremiah Vincent. Hard on the brakes there for Jeremiah Vincent. He'll run late into that braking zone. Gavin Stanball uses a little bit more of a conservative section through there. Gets a little loose on exit. That'll allow Jeremiah Vincent to kind of get a run away from him. Jeremiah is a driver that does fairly well under pressure. He's smart enough to know when he's been beaten and let somebody by, but right now has no need to do that with Gavin Stanball as he's running fast laps. Coming across the hill. Going on to the front stretch. We'll see if he's got a good stretch. He has created some separation from him to Gavin Stanball. Gavin Stanball deciding to pit, I believe. So that battle will be over there on track. That's not going to help him. He's going to fall another lap behind based on where the leaders are coming across. Wesley Dunphy, another fast lap, 1:24.807, just out there on his own. No need to even run these fast laps, but just something he's got dialed in. He really has that car figured out this season. He's on his way to a perfect championship. Barring any sort of craziness going on, he's going to have it locked in. Nicholas Camp running a 1:26.384 with as fast as Wesley's running. Nick's going to be nowhere near being able to catch him. That gap growing all the way to 35 seconds. And you can see he's starting to chase down 7th place and starting to chase down 4th of Jeremy Kitchen. The gap on track from that's only about 30 seconds, so if Wesley keeps on running this, he will end up passing his teammate and putting his teammate a lap down. Jeremy Kitchen should be happy with this finish. A 3rd place finish last week, and now a 4th place finish tonight should be good. Pushing him up through the point standings, not a bad situation to deal with. Jeremy Kitchen in 6th. The finish right now wouldn't help him too much, but would push him a little bit closer in the point standing. Excuse me, he's in 6th. Would push him a little bit closer to Jeremiah Vincent, but there's going to be quite a bit of separation there. Over 100-point separation in points, so not going to be enough to really do much here, but it would be a good enough finish. He can improve on it later on. So we see Gavin Stanball giving a little bit of pressure on his exit lap to Jeremy Kitchen. Jeremy Kitchen running quite a bit wide. Gavin Stanball will go ahead and follow him, but be able to control it a little better. Won't go as wide. Now he's going to deal with all that dirt getting kicked up in his face. On top of the dirt, he is kicking up himself. These two drivers, kind of a similar style. So we should see a decent battle if they can run next to each other. Although Jeremy Kitchen creating a little bit of separation. Nicholas Camp at 1:26.0. Going to be 7/10 that lap slower than Wesley Dunphy. Still not enough to be able to make a move on him. And Gavin Stanball will make the pass lap-wise on Jonathan Casebeer. Jonathan Casebeer really struggling at this point. Not sure what happened, what sort of damage knocked him out, but not enough to do much with it. Jeremy Kitchen starting to get a little bit of pressure from Gavin Stanball here. This once again, Not a pass for position, but a pass just to try to move himself and get a free line. As we've seen with Wesley Dunphy, if you have an open line and no car in front of you, you can run a faster lap. These cars are susceptible to a draft situation that kind of makes the car actually tight, makes the car not want to turn in. It kind of stirs up the air behind it with that massive rear wing. 20 minutes left in this race. Not too much left to shake up in the field. Gregory Busch 4 seconds behind Nicholas Camp. Unless he starts making some crazy improvement or Nick starts making some big mistakes, he's not going to be able to do much with it, but it should be something he's happy with. Win last week and now a third place finish for him. He's going to be happy with that. That's going to grow the gap from him to Gavin Stambaugh and kind of lock him into third place, our final podium spot in the points championship. Jeremiah Vincent coming in another fast lap at 126.876, so ending up being about the same speed time as the drivers in front of him. Ooh, sliding out Jeremy Kitchen. Gavin Stambaugh will get by him on that because of it, and then you'll see the leader Wesley Dunphy run by. Jeremy Kitchen not going to be happy with that. Getting back onto pace. Wesley Dunphy now starting to lap through the field. That's going to put only the podium positions. Going to be only the top 3 positions on the lead lap now. Gavin Stambaugh 5 laps down, 4 laps down from John Adams, so he's kind of locked into his position. Jonathan Casebeer 3 laps behind Gavin Stambaugh. Like we said, not really sure what happened with that. I don't even believe he's on the track at the moment. Must have called it quits with whatever issue he ended up having. Nicholas Camp trying to run clean laps, but just falling second after second behind Wesley Dunphy. He's not going to be able to do much with it. He is creating some separation from him to Gregory Busch for third place, so our top 3, barring any sort of changes, are kind of locked in. 17 minutes left to go in this race. Now it's time just to conserve your tires, run your best lap, and just keep it clean. Gregory Busch did run 2 seconds faster on that last lap than Nicholas Camp. Probably not going to be enough to do much with it. We do see him in the back of that view just following Nick, but I don't know that it's going to be enough to chase him down. Clean laps by Nicholas Camp. That's all he's really got to do in order to keep his position. Greg Busch will have to do quite a lot to make the pass, running 2/10 slower on that lap than Nicholas Camp. Not too much going on in this track now. It's just a matter of getting yourself to the finish. We count down the time. Sounds like a bit of an off track there from Jeremiah Vincent as Nicholas Camp's chasing him down. Nicholas Camp's going to look to get past Jeremiah Vincent. Jeremiah Vincent, he is a smart driver. He's not going to do anything that he doesn't need to do, but he is Greg Busch's partner, and knowing that Greg Busch is kind of chasing him down. We'll see if there's any sort of team strategy there to hold him off. Going to keep to the outside. If Nick wants the inside, he can have it. Smart way to do that. Hard into this compression zone. We'll see if Nick has anything to do. Nice and clean. Both drivers through. Nick getting a little bit closer to Jeremiah Vincent. That'll push him to the outside, though. Jeremiah Vincent, being smart, go ahead and let him through. Let those two run their race and chase each other down. Just going to drop in behind them. Going to be right in front of Greg Bush. Maybe give Greg a little bit of a tow. That's where smart team strategy comes into play. Greg's going to be telling him over the radio comms, hey, let me by, man, let me by. Greg Bush had it down to a 1.5 second gap between the two of them, but now having to deal with where the placement is of Jeremiah Vincent, not going to have anything that he can do. He's going to have to work his way around him. I'm sure Jeremiah's not holding him up, but it's just a matter of the way that these cars compare. Yep, Jeremiah Vincent doing the smart thing, letting him by. Greg Bush running a nice clean entry into that corner. Going to be thanking his teammate as he now looks to try to chase back down Nicholas Camp, see what he can do. They're running fairly similar times, trading back and forth who's running the fastest lap. We'll see what the time difference is created now as they both cross the pylon. Greg Bush probably going to have a little slower lap because of dealing with it. Yep, a 1:27.5. Now the gap has jumped up, doubled. So now Greg is really going to have to make some work if he wants to go after second place. We'll see if he thinks it's worth it or if he's just going to run nice, consistent laps. Wesley Dunphy running a 1:25.2, still staying out there on his own. Going to be coming up to Gavin Stanball to put him another lap down. Don't believe Gavin and Wes had anything to do with that first accident, so I don't believe we're going to see any sort of weird things going on from him. As we'll jump on board with Wesley Dunphy and see what type of dealings he's going to have with Gavin Stanball. Gavin Stanball running on 1:26, running decently fast laps, but not going to be enough to hold off Wesley Dunphy, so we'll see if there's any sort of action that we have to deal with on this lap. Wesley really putting in the work to keep these fast laps running. As he runs through the S's, he's got Gavin Stanball in his sights, so we'll see if he can put him another lap down. Once again, I don't believe these two had anything to do with running into each other and Gavin crashing, so I don't believe there's going to be any hurt feelings here. I'm not exactly sure what happened on that first lap, as we saw quite a lot of cars dodging in and out. We'll see if Gavin Stanball decides to hold off Wesley Dunphy. Just running his race, keeping nice clean laps. Jonathan Casebeer back on track with a 1:34. Wesley Dunphy, just the only driver able to consistently run a 1:25. Dipping down to the 1:24s on his good lap, laps. Really put enough time and work into being able to run that. Runs a 1:25 flat on his last lap, cutting the gap down to Gavin Stanball even more. Gavin Stanball 1:26. Second, Nicholas Camp has created more of a gap to Gregory Bush, jumping it up to a 3.1 second gap. We'll see what their 2 laps times are. We're going to see Wesley Dunphy thank Gavin Stanball there. Go ahead and let me by. Smart thing to do for Gavin Stanball. It causes him no harm later on in the year. Wesley Dunphy really putting in the time and the effort, making it work now as he's going to be out on his own again to run nice clean laps. Got a weird pass going on for 5th. Not really sure what happened there. Just barely missed it. Jeremiah Vincent and Jeremy Kitchen. Excuse me, Jeremiah Vincent, John Adams. Jeremy Kitchen actually out on his own. Kind of some weird overlap here as we see 1st, 4th, 2nd, and 3rd based on the track map. That's just because of the 4th place driver being a lap down. Jeremiah Vincent doing his best to keep it clean, getting some pressure from John Adams. I believe he's a lap behind Jeremiah Vincent, but maybe not. Just a weird kind of situation there with the positioning and the timing. So Jeremiah Vincent is actually ahead. Kevin Stanbaugh doing a good job of just following Wesley Dunphy's lines if you're following that track map. So maybe Gavin using some of those lines to run some faster laps. We'll see when he comes back around. Jonathan Casebeer back into the pits. Whatever sort of issues he's dealing with, he's probably had enough of. No other sort of action really going on. Nicholas Camp continuing to grow the gap to Gregory Bush. Looks like Greg put in a couple fast laps and now the tires just won't hold it up. Wesley Dunphy doing a beautiful job to run out there on his own. Nobody really having anything to give him. So we have less than 9 minutes to go in this race. Pretty much locked in, barring any sort of craziness. So we'll go ahead and interview them after the race. Greg Bush with a podium, 3rd place finish right after a win. He's got to be happy with that and how it puts him in the points. Not going to make any sort of advancement to Nicholas Camp in the points, but it will put him far ahead of Gavin Stanbaugh. Wesley Dunphy just putting on a clinic. Gavin Stanbaugh doing his best to stay behind him. Wesley ran a 125.4 on that last lap. The only driver in the 125 still. As you see all the other drivers, the fastest behind that is Gavin Stanbaugh following him. And then a lot of 126, 127, 128s. Wesley will pull in another 125.9. Gavin Stanbaugh doing a good job of following him with a 125.9 himself. These two drivers do work together outside of this race, and so this is going to be one of those situations where Wesley going to be willing to share some of his expertise and be followed by Gavin Stanbaugh, doing a good job of kind of mentoring some of the other drivers through these races. All the other drivers creating kind of a gap to each other. And we've got a couple of drivers laps down, so not much going on there. The gap did shrink just barely from Greg Bush to Nick Camp, but I don't believe that's going to be enough to do anything. Jeremiah Vincent bringing in a 128.4 on that last lap. Got a little bit of gap to Jeremy Kitchen, 38 seconds. Probably not enough, if barring Jeremy Kitchen really making a mistake, to be able to make a change. And for 4th place, those will probably be locked in. Wesley Dunphy, 125.3 on that lap. Gavin Stanball losing the toe on him with a 126.1. So Wes will be back on to running his own race. Going to be catching up to John Adams here in the next lap. John Adams struggling a little bit on that lap with a 130. Sounds like he may have just gone off. Maybe just run it through the infield. Still, Wesley Dunphy just running his own race. Getting ever closer to John Adams there. Put him another lap down. Jonathan Gaisbeard does come back out. Runs a 134.1. And then back into the pits. Not really sure what's going on there. May just be an issue with our standings, and that might not be correct. John Adams doing the right thing. Go ahead and let Wesley Dunphy by. Gavin Stanball should be catching him here in a second. We'll see if he lets him by also. That pass, neither one of those passes will be for position. It won't be for position, but it will be to put Gavin Stanball and John Adams on the same lap. There is a chance, barring some mistake from John Adams, Gavin Stanball could catch him, but with only 4 minutes left in this race, I really doubt that's a possibility. John Adams doing the smart thing, letting Gavin Stanball by. There's no reason to hold him up. With an entire lap gap now. Gavin Stanball, John Adams being on the same lap, but unless Gavin, not going to be happy with that for John Adams, although John doesn't have much to do. He's got 2 laps left to run, and all he's got to do is run within the 130s, and he would still be able to hold that position. Believe he would have to fall all the way back to about a 155, and Gavin would have to continue running those fast laps in order to make a change. Barring any sort of mistake like that, I believe that's not going to matter on the track. Wesley Dunphy getting a little bit into the dirt there. Just trying to cut off more time. Looks like he's going to try to chase down Jeremiah Vincent at this point. About 2-second gap between the two of them. Second and third hasn't really changed. Still about a 3.5-second difference between the two drivers. Haven't seen much difference on that as they both come around. We'll see if that gap changed any, but I don't believe it has. Nicholas Camp, a 126.4, 126.2s, and actually Gregory Bush with a 126.3, so that gap is actually going to grow a little bit. We'll just see Wesley Dunphy, and his finish is all on him as long as he keeps it clean. No massive mistakes. He's going to go ahead and take the win on this one. I believe that's going to be his 3rd of the season, may even be his 4th. Now, if I'm looking at it, that is his 3rd win. It will be his 3rd win of the season. Going to be the only driver with 3 wins this year. Looks like Reese, excuse me, the only other driver with 2 wins, and Gregory Bush being the only other driver with 1. Our next race will be on February 1st at Watkins Glen. Should be a challenging race. There's lots of passing zones and lots of chances for mistakes there, so that'll be interesting to watch. February 1st, once again at 6 p.m. See if any sort of the first lap shenanigans that happened in this race will matter coming into that next race. Let's go ahead and jump on board with Wesley Dunphy as he goes ahead and runs his last lap of the race. We'll see what sort of work he's been putting in to run these fast laps. These tires are probably going to be pretty well cooked, as he ran a 1:25.9 on that lap, but this should be the last lap of our race. See how fast he can put in. Sitting right behind Jeremiah Vincent, I believe. So this would be to put Jeremiah Vincent one more lap down. He doesn't have to make this pass. This does nothing for him, so it's just a matter of staying behind him if he wants to. He really doesn't need to do anything crazy. Keeping it nice and clean, just following his lines. This will slow him down quite a bit, but it really doesn't matter. Kevin Stanbaugh catching up to him, but it won't matter for any positions or anything. Did end up gaining about 35 seconds on John Adams, but it won't be enough to matter. Beautiful pass just based on raw speed from Wesley Dunphy. Once again, putting in a beautiful clinic tonight. Nice and clean through here, the last chicane, and then power on coming through this last corner. Right now, just probably trying to contain his excitement, getting another race win. Beautiful lap. And that will be the finish tonight for him. Congratulations to Wesley Dunphy on his beautiful performance. We'll jump on board with Nicholas Camp and Greg Busch. Got a little bit of chaos with John Adams getting in the way. Greg Busch did cut the lead down a full second. Not really sure if that had anything to do with it. Not going to have enough to be able to make the pass. Jeremy Kitchen in front of Nicholas Camp, as they're all going to be coming across and ending the race here. Greg Busch coming down the hill. Going to swing it through the chicane section right here. Nicholas Camp going to finish his race. Jeremy Kitchen going to finish in 4th. Nicholas Camp will take 2nd place. We'll get on the mic with him here in a minute, and we'll jump on Greg Busch once he's go ahead and settles the car down. Not really sure what we've got going on right there. That was just Jeremy Kitchen go ahead and shutting it down. Greg Busch still out there kind of pushing a little bit, but this is just a cool down lap. Shouldn't be any sort of extracurriculars to worry about right now. Once again, congrats to our podium positions. Wesley Dunphy for winning, Nicholas Camp 2nd, Greg Busch 3rd. That'll round out our podiums. We'll go ahead and pull Greg Busch first up to the broadcast booth and ask him how he feels like his race went tonight. So we'll take a look at our sponsors while we do so. Greg Busch, got a copy?
Hey, I got a copy. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Congratulations on your 3rd place finish tonight. Walk us through how you felt that tonight went.
I felt pretty good about it. My qualifying, I don't know, I was a little off in my qualifying. I was definitely way beyond what I'm capable of, and I started in P6, which was, not very optimal for me.
Looks like with the chaos that went in the first lap, you did a good job of working your way through that.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Yeah, I don't really know. I just kind of held back. I started, P6 out of, I think, 8 drivers, or did we have 7 today?
We had 8. Yep, congratulations on moving your way through that, and congrats on the 3rd place finish. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Not really off the top of my head. I mean, everyone did good for the most part. I mean, I'm quite impressed with Nick. He brought it back to P2 after that incident right at the beginning, so he did a hell of a drive. I was trying to make up the time, but I just couldn't get any closer than 3 seconds during that last stint.
Yep, good. Congratulations on that, and enjoy your night.
Thank you, sir.
We'll try to pull Nicholas Camp up to the booth. Nicholas Camp, got a copy?
Yeah, what's going on here, Race Control?
Congrats on your second place finish. Walk us through. Not really sure what happened in the beginning, but you did a good job getting yourself back up into second. How do you feel the race went for you?
The race went pretty good, you know, given what happened at the beginning. It was a struggle. Not sure. Kind of got into the 24 car there at the beginning, and he got dumped, and then somehow the Jeremy Kitchen's Motorsports number 43 car somehow ended up getting into me at the very next turn. Good recovery though. Overall, very satisfied with how the first lap went. Was very satisfied with the finish. We fought all day, and yeah, we made the best of what we had there.
Yep, congrats on your second place finish. Anything else you'd like to say for the night?
God bless America. Do it like Biff, and do it for Dale.
All right, have a good night, brother.
Thanks, you too. All right.
Wesley Dunphy. Oh.
Let's see.
Wesley Dunphy, got a copy?
Hey there, Nate. Go ahead.
Congratulations on your run tonight. Pretty much nobody had anything for you. Could you walk us through what happened in that first lap? Or looks like you just got a run on them, took away after that.
Yeah, I couldn't really see Gavin's headlights too well. I was trying to give him, the inside fairly there. I was not expecting the green lights to go right on the chicane there. I was not ready for that. So he got a pretty good jump, and I was trying to give room. I slid up. I think he probably checked up for me, and it was a little high speed of a corner there, so I do apologize to Gavin for that. But seemed like there was a little bit more melee. I was getting reported back from my teammate. After that, I looked up in my rearview mirror. It was corner 6 at that point. No one was there, and I said, well, these guys are fast. I had to keep going, and I looked down about 10 laps in, and I said, well, I need to start slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like to be disrespectful or anything. I was not really certain on, fuel here. I did not run enough consistent fuel laps to know exactly where it was. And then as the race went on after the first pit stop, the grip was better. I got actually real concerned because I know the margin is based off of your previous lap times, and I was going faster. So I was trying to actually, keep it in the 125 range there. It seemed to be fast enough, and had a couple of 126s, had a couple of times I came up behind lap traffic, and I had to check up a little bit, but overall didn't dump anybody that I know of.
Looked like you ran a pretty clean race. Did a good job working through lap traffic, pretty much all on your own. How do you feel with the night going this way? Anything else you'd like to say about the night?
The night was a little chaotic. I was actually thinking that we were going to be a lot closer. Looking at practice and qualifying times. Well, looking at practice times, I hit that qualifying time, and I was like, oh, I guess people are struggling with the night. But overall, happy to get a perfect weekend, win practice, win qualifying, and win the race. So hopefully to keep winning races and get this trophy.
Yep, congrats on your third win. You're the only driver with 3 wins this season. Should put you pretty well in the points. Anybody else you'd like to thank, or anything else you'd like to say?
Just shout out to the sponsors, Kitchin Motorsports, always deliver me a good car. The Ducking Nails, Resin, Ohio, Nxtlvl Racing, of course. They put on a good season for us every year, and we're happy to race in it.
Well, congratulations on your win. Have a good night.
You too, Nate. Thanks.
That'll do it for us here tonight. We will see a big shakeup going into our next race on February 1st at Watkins Glen. We'll look into the points before that race, but that should be a good event with these drivers. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you on the 1st.